Thank you so much for joining us today with our first in our series of workshops with the HSC Department of Nutritional Sciences students that we do try to offer every spring, especially kind of to kickstart and look at National Nutrition Month. So throughout March and April, have opportunities to learn about a variety of nutrition topics from students from Dr. Elliott's class. So today we have budget bites, practical meal plans for all walks of life. These meal prep items here look delicious. So you can tell I haven't had lunch yet, so this is making me so hungry, nice and delicious. So excited to learn about what Chloe, Elizabeth, and Colton have to share with us today. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and get started. Today we're going to be talking about practical meal plans for all walks of life. So whether you're cooking for yourself or for a large family, you shouldn't have to worry about breaking the bank by putting healthy food on the table. This presentation is going to aim to uncover practical strategies to eat well without overspending. We're good. Okay, so for our overview, we're going to be talking about the costs of grocery shopping compared to the costs of eating out, the average nutrition needs of Americans and how these needs can shape into household practice, the food budgets for each type of household, and lastly, strategies that can be used to make meal prepping simple, time-saving, affordable, and nutritious. So after this presentation, you should be able to create affordable, nutritious meals on a moderate income budget for your stage of life, identify pieces of equipment that helps minimize time spent in the kitchen, and develop a plan for eating at home more often. So we're going to go ahead and do a quick poll regarding our eating habits. So we just want you guys to ask yourself, how often do I eat out each week? So this is going to include eating fast food, using delivery services, getting takeout from restaurants, eating in restaurants, or anything else you might classify as eating out. So go ahead and put your answers in the Zoom chat and we'll give you a minute to respond. Oh, that was quick. A lot of B's. Seeing a few A's. Okay, so there's a lot of B's, so mostly 1 to 2 times a week. And then there's a pretty big mixture of the other options. Okay, so I think that's most everybody. So there is quite a bit of variability among everyone. And while eating out might be a perfectly normal and effective strategy for some households, other households might have interest in how they can decrease their time and money spent by eating out. And I'm sure all of us have noticed how expensive food has become in the last few years. And so hopefully by the end of this presentation, you can have a little bit more knowledge surrounding eating at home and saving some money while doing so. So we just wanted to throw in some statistics. So this one says the average price for one meal at an inexpensive restaurant costs 285% more than eating one meal at home. So in Oklahoma, this would equate to $12 for a restaurant meal compared to $3.89 for a meal made at home. So just reflect on that a little bit and maybe ask yourself how those thoughts surrounding your own meal habits can be affected by this number. So another quick statistic that brings us more into a little bit of the discussion of food costs is that from 2021 to 2022, food spending has risen 8.4% for food at home and 20.1% for food away from home. And once again, just kind of think about that, how the information makes you feel and how that can kind of be applied to your own eating habits. So now let's talk about the actual cost of food. So food is a necessary part of life, and spending money to acquire that food is unavoidable. So these numbers that are shown on the screen show the amount of money that each household spends on groceries every year. And so if we look at the single person household, the average income was about $54,000, and they spent around $4,000 a year on groceries. For couples, the average income was about $97,000, with an average grocery spending of around $6,000 annually. For couples with children, The average income was around $128,000, with the amount spent annually being around $8,000. But it's also important to mention that with this specific household type, this doesn't account for multiple children in the spending amount, and it's also based on what the oldest child of that household's spending needs are for their nutrition. So the number should rise with each subsequent child in the household and will also rise with the age of that child. So for the single parent and one child household, the average income was determined to be about $54,000 with an annual spending of groceries around $5,500. So once again, with the more children in the household, you would expect this value to increase. It's important to mention that these incomes may seem pretty high compared to the average incomes of Oklahomans, since this data is an average of household incomes nationally and not specifically Oklahoma. And these are the most recent numbers available, but they are from 2022. So spending amounts have most likely increased since then. So this slide describes similar things to the previous slide with annual spending for groceries, but instead for food away from home. This can be described once again as eating at restaurants, takeout, delivery services, and more. And with each household having similar average incomes as the food away from home costs, the amount of money that's spent for food away from home is also averaged nationally, which may mean that these numbers are actually underestimating the eating out costs for Oklahomans compared to maybe other parts of the country. So as you can see, these numbers are actually lower than the grocery costs in the previous slide. And so you might be asking yourself, well, it seems like Americans will actually spend less money by eating out. But what these numbers don't display is the amount of outside costs that are associated with dining out, such as delivery fees, tips, or gas to use to drive to these places. So these additional costs can add up pretty quickly, and finding ways that you can increase your meal quantity while still stretching your dollar can be pretty helpful. So depending on your personal finance situation, you might also look at these income averages with their associated spending amounts and think, well, that's not very much, or you may think that's an enormous amount of money spent. Either way you look at it, Americans are spending a significant amount of money on eating out. So just to kind of summarize the last two slides, this is the total amount that each household spent on food in 2022. It's important to mention that these various households are not representative of every kind of living situation. These values also don't take into account every specific disease state or diet that might alter your food costs, such as celiac disease, where there's high prices for gluten-free options, vegan diets where high produce is purchased year-round, which could become more expensive at different times of the year, or other metabolic disorders and food preferences that might prevent individuals from purchasing cheaper food options. However, this chart does give an idea about how much Americans are spending on food annually and can serve as a reference value for households that are outside of these categories. Once again, with increasing inflation, these numbers only go up, meaning this can become even more burdensome to Americans on finding ways to eat without breaking the bank. So let's talk a little bit about traveling. So although traveling time might not affect expenses directly, going out to eat or bringing food home could result in someone spending more on one meal than you might spend by making it yourself, and it might increase your time you have waiting to get that food and eat it. So if you're paying for delivery, that can also take a significant amount of time to arrive, which might mean the food's cold when it gets to your house, or you're spending extra money for fees and tips. If you're traveling to get fast food, you might use your gas to travel, sit in lines at drive-thrus, or maybe even wait in traffic, especially during rush hour, where you may end up costing you more money, especially at times where gas is expensive. If you're traveling to sit in a restaurant, you might be spending that same amount of time you would to make a meal at home by driving to the restaurant, waiting to be seated, and receiving your meal. Once again, if you're in a larger group or family, there may also be some stress involved with making sure your children are eating, that they're not disturbing any other diners, and that they're entertained while sitting for those longer wait times. So overall, although these factors might not contribute directly to the costs of eating out and eating food away from home, they may be big enough reasons to decide to increase your food made at home to avoid the extra hassle with traveling and the extra costs associated with it. So now that we've talked a little bit about traveling, let's discuss how we can make preparation for meals at home more approachable and worry-free. There are lots of options to reduce your time stressing about what you're going to make, what you need to buy, and how you can reduce your time doing both of those things. So meal planning apps, calendars, and spreadsheets are a great option for those who want to save their time preparing for meals. Listed on the slide are some meal apps that are allowing you to pick a recipe from a large selection and put those in a grocery list that you can take with you to the store. So making a list can help with preventing unexpected items from making their way into your cart and spending more than you anticipated. Some of these apps even have a feature where you can select your recipe and it will directly add them to a Walmart shopping cart that you can use for pickup orders, which makes the stress associated with meal planning a little bit more manageable. With a budget. While having resources and strategies to reduce your need to eat out of the house can significantly stretch your food budget and increase your intake of nutritious meals that might not be as affordable or available at various fast food or sit-down restaurants. So for the rest of the presentation, we're going to be talking a little bit about how different households can prepare, plan, and eat nutritious meals with a budget and introduce more strategies to stretch your dollar.
I'm going to be focusing on nutritional needs on a budget. Each year, the USDA determines 4 different cost plans for food purchasing: thrifty, low, moderate, and liberal. The money in each category reflects the current dietary recommendations, food consumption patterns, and food price recommendations, which also includes inflation for an individual. These categories specify the types and quantities of food that people could purchase and prepare at home to meet nutritional needs within their diets at the 4 different cost levels. I'm going to go over the My Plate recommendations first. This is a resource that you might be familiar with that recently replaced the food pyramid and is now a visual representation of how to make healthy choices within each of the 5 food groups. For the purposes of today, I'm going to highlight the nutrition recommendations for an individual on a 2,000 calorie diet. But if you go to the My Plate website, you can actually customize your own personalized plan specific to your needs. The first category we'll discuss is dairy. Dairy comes with a recommended serving of 3 cups per day. This can look like 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of lactose-free dairy milk or yogurt, a cup of fortified soy milk or yogurt, or even certain types of hard cheeses. The second category we will discuss is the fruits. You will need about 2 cups a day to meet that recommendation. This can be 1 cup of raw, frozen, or canned fruits, half a cup of dried fruit, or 1 cup of 100% fruit juice. The third category is vegetables. The third category is vegetables with a recommended serving of 2.5 cups. This can look like, again, 1 cup of raw or cooked canned vegetables, can be 2 cups of leafy greens, or 1 cup of 100% vegetable juice. The fourth category is protein. This requires 5.5 ounces of protein serving a day. This could be 1 ounce of seafood, lean meat, or poultry options. It could be an egg, a tablespoon of peanut butter, a half a cup of unsalted nuts or seeds, a half an ounce, or 1/4 cup of cooked beans, peas, or lentils. The last category is grains, and that requires 6 ounces per day. That can look various examples as well: 1 slice of bread, 1 ounce of ready-to-eat cereal, or 1/2 cup of rice or pasta. Now we will discuss the weekly food cost plan at the moderate level for a single person. You will notice on the chart that a male between the ages of 19 and 50 can expect to spend about $105 a week, or for a female at $88 a week, to meet the full nutritional guidelines for that age group. If you are between the ages of 51 and 70, it is about $98 a week, and for females, it is $87 a week. You will notice there is a higher cost plan for males than for females, and that is typically because you are having a higher calorie consumption for males than typically for females. You will also notice that there is a decrease in the dollar figure when you get into the age 51 to 70 age bracket, and that is due to a decrease in calorie consumption that is from less physical activity, a change in metabolism, or a loss of bone or muscle mass. So how could we incorporate the MyPlate recommendations in a single person's budget? First, keep fruit around in case you need a quick snack. This can be whole fruit like apples, bananas, oranges, grapes, whatever is easy for you to grab on the go and take with you. Next, you could try to choose a variety of vegetables. When selecting vegetables, think about color. We always want to make sure we're looking at different varieties and options, such as sweet potatoes, broccoli, carrots, or tomatoes. Then you're going to focus on whole grain options, such as wheat bread, brown rice, oatmeal, and even popcorn is a great option. Follow up with a variety of protein like boneless, skinless chicken, lean or low-fat beef or turkey. You could also incorporate plant-based options like beans and chickpeas and various nut butters. Finally, don't forget about your dairy. This can be yogurt, low-fat or fat-free milk, soy products, or low-fat cheeses. The next table that you'll see reflects the weekly moderate cost plan for a duo. These are for two people living in the same household together. You will notice that the weekly plan increases due to the fact that you're now covering two people in the house as opposed to a single person. A duo between the ages of 19 and 50 would be able to spend about $176 a month. And then again, if your age is 51 to 70, it's about $170 a week. Excuse me. As we age, our dietary needs change. So this section will provide an overview for the types of foods to discuss and look at as a duo. It is important to remember that fiber, calcium, vitamin D, and whole grains are important in our diet no matter what stage you're in. So make sure you're always thinking and incorporating those. Fiber is important to maintain a healthy gut, and foods that are high in fiber can be beans, almonds, or whole grain pasta. Calcium and vitamin D are important for maintaining healthy bones. So foods that are high in calcium can be milk products, Greek yogurt, and tofu. Foods with high vitamin D levels can be salmon, trout, ready-to-go cereals. Whole grain options provide essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients in your diet. Foods high in whole grains can be whole wheat breads, muffins, and tortillas. Next, continue enjoying a variety of fruits. You can do this by making fruit smoothies, leafy green salads, and even incorporating omelets with extra veggies in your meal. Continue to incorporate a variety of protein by making chilies and stews with various bean options to add in. You could also look at stir-fry meals by adding extra cashews to that for the added protein. Finally, it's important to be mindful of salt intake. Looking for reduced sodium, no sodium options are always good to keep in mind. Also, continue to look and strive to make food purchases with added sugars to less than 10% of your daily calorie needs. And we also want to focus on unsaturated fats. You can find these in olive oils, avocados, and nuts. Finally, we will discuss the weekly moderate cost plan for families. Families can look different for everyone. We focused on a parent with children category, and we also looked at a single parent with child. If you're interested, you could also go to the USDA website and calculate your own personal cost plan depending on your circumstance for your family. In the first example, we looked again at at parents between the ages of 19 and 50, and we looked at two children, one between the ages of 9 and 11, and the other between the ages of 12 and 13. A family in this moderate budget range could spend around $320 a week. If you're a single parent with a child who has a child between the ages of 9 and 11, you could spend between around $164 a week. It is important to note that in this scenario cost for a child, that a child's cost remains steady up until age 11. Once a child reaches age 12, they fall into the adult category, which jumps in cost for that child. And again, with a male child, you're going to see a higher cost intake than a female child. As we've talked about before, the same nutritional requirements should still be met when you're focusing on the family. You still need to incorporate your protein, your fruits and vegetables, your grains, and your dairy. So we're also going to look at additional tips that might be helpful when meeting nutritional needs of the entire family, especially for children who are being exposed to new foods for the first time. It's important to incorporate a variety of foods early and often during childhood, with a focus on different textures and colors to increase a child's exposure to new foods. Next, life can get busy, but staying organized with a meal plan will help you. Create a list of meals throughout the week that you want to cook larger portions to provide leftover options throughout the week, or you can make quick and easy meals for busy nights like casseroles, pasta dishes, and our family's favorite breakfast for dinner. Finally, find ways to involve your children in the meal process. Let your children pick out fruits and vegetables at the store. Let them help with their favorite meals or foods throughout the week. Help them pick them out so that they can be involved in the process. You can even let them help out in the kitchen at an age that you feel comfortable with. Remember, the cost plans in this presentation were at the moderate level. So depending on your circumstance, there are still ways to incorporate a healthy diet in a lower cost plan. And there are also ways to expand your nutritional requirements in a higher cost plan. Here are some additional money saving tips that we want to present to you today, no matter what type of budget you have in your family. When selecting, oh my gosh, sorry. When selecting fruits and vegetables, choose vegetables without added butter. Also look for fruits without additional added sugar. It may also be beneficial to look for produce that is in season, which is often more cost effective. When selecting protein-based foods, you could look for canned options such as tuna or salmon, or even looking at eggs, which are often more cost-effective options than buying fresh fish or poultry options. When choosing whole grains, foods like rice, oatmeal, and cereal and popcorn are usually less expensive options to purchase and great ways to get in that nutritional requirement. And finally, for dairy, make sure that when you're looking at dairy, you're checking the expiration dates on the packaging so that you're not purchasing items that you won't use in time. Also consider buying items in larger quantity, such as yogurt, and you could buy a plain version of yogurt and then add your own fresh or frozen fruits to that instead of purchasing the ones with it already in it.
So now we're going to move into some meal prep strategies that can help you reduce time spent in the kitchen and save money. Every year, people lose money with food waste, impulse purchasing, and buying grab-and-go foods, eating fast food regularly, and driving to get food. Here are some great ways to prevent that. A great way to save time while meal prepping is to use equipment that can reduce time spent in the kitchen. Examples of this would be swapping a pot for a pressure cooker, cooking things like rice, swapping an oven for an air fryer when cooking chicken, swapping a cutting board for a food processor when chopping vegetables, and swapping a grill for a crock pot when cooking cheaper cuts of meat, such as beef brisket. These appliances don't require anyone to be present while cooking the food, allowing you to step out of the kitchen to take care of other chores. Some things to add to your kitchen to save time are clear sealed storage containers to make it easier to find ingredients in the fridge and to prevent contamination of food from bugs. Meal prep containers to store grab-and-go meals, gallon-sized plastic bags to get the most out of your storage space, and a lunchbox to keep your prep food fresh at work or school if you don't have access to a fridge. Another great way to save money is just to buy in bulk. Some great options for bulk stores would be Costco and Sam's Club for prepackaged goods, and Winco and Whole Foods when purchasing dispensed items such as coffee beans or flour. The downside for going to Sam's Club and Costco is that both places require an annual subscription, which can reduce your household budget. According to a study by Lending Tree, consumers on average save 27% on groceries by buying in bulk. Having that extra money in the budget can allow consumers to buy more ingredients since they have a larger budget. It can also reduce the number of trips made to the grocery store, which can save money on gas and make it more convenient to eat at home. Buying in bulk also leads to reduced food waste since you can purchase up to the exact gram amount of products you need for a specific meal or recipe. If you do happen to buy extra goods, you can freeze and reheat them later to prevent food waste. An easily overlooked method to save money and reduce time spent in the kitchen is just to eat leftovers. Not everyone likes to eat leftovers because some dishes don't taste as good when reheated. A good way to prevent this is to reheat things in the air fryer as it bakes the food instead of using a microwave, which can dry out the food. According to the study by the USDA, the average family the family of four loses $1,500 annually from food waste. That extra $1,500 could be used to increase the food budget and the family has per month and make food with better ingredients. Eating leftovers also decreases the amount of time spent in the kitchen cooking, which can give people more free time. Choosing foods that have simple recipes, are easy to reheat, and taste good when reheated, such as spaghetti, chili, pot roast, and soups, can make eating leftovers more enjoyable. Be sure to eat the oldest food prepared to prevent food spoilage. If you choose to freeze leftovers, you should label them as well, just so you know how long they've been frozen for to prevent. Oh, skip that. Just to prevent food poisoning. That's really it. Let's go to the next one. You can also buy canned goods, frozen and dry goods, and they can decrease food spoilage and save you money and trips to the store to replace food that went bad. Frozen food can last up to 2 years if stored properly and has the same nutrient content as fresh goods. Be sure to choose off-brand goods compared to the name brand options, since most products are prepared in the same factory and they taste the exact same. Instead of purchasing everything at one store, you can also go to multiple stores and look for sales as well as discounted goods to save extra money. Sometimes frozen products have more nutrients than fresh, since they are picked when they're most fresh and then immediately frozen. Canned goods usually have the same nutrient content as fresh. The only issue with canned goods is that since the canning process requires heat, the only nutrients that are lost are water-soluble vitamins such as vitamin C and the B vitamins. They also contain more sodium than their drier fresh options, which can lead to chances of high blood pressure or cardiovascular disease. You can also purchase versatile ingredients that can be used in multiple dishes. Here's a few great examples. Rice can be combined with chicken, beef, and other meats as a side, or it can be the main dish in meals such as fried rice. Chicken can be used in tacos, wraps, and salads. Potatoes are a great side to steak, grilled chicken, or you can make it a loaded baked potato and just eat it all by itself. Bananas are a great snack or can be added into oatmeal, yogurt, smoothies. And ground beef can be used in spaghetti, tacos, and burgers. Eggs are a great option by themselves for breakfast, or they can be used as a topping on a burger, in fried rice, or in tuna salad sandwiches. Since these ingredients are used in multiple dishes, it can reduce the amount of groceries you have to purchase every month and prevent you from wasting unused ingredients. Another good tip is just to purchase in-season ingredients, since they can be cheaper than out-of-season ingredients, and they generally taste better than out-of-season ingredients since it's their season. Most in-season ingredients at grocery stores are sourced from local farms, and purchasing more of their product can support them. In-season ingredients are better for the environment since they come from nearby sources and don't have to be brought to the store from a distant source. Be sure to wash all fruits and vegetables purchased from a store, as they may have pesticides on the product. Washing the fruit can decrease the shelf life, so you may want to wait until you are going to eat the product before washing it. Another good option is to stock up, and that can help you save money, since you can purchase goods when they go on sale and store them for later use. They will always be easily accessible in case you need to make an extra amount of a meal, which prevents you from having to make that extra trip to the store. Having a large stock on hand can also prevent making impulse purchases, since you are short on groceries and don't have time to go to the store. Be sure to place the products with the soonest expiration date near the front, just to prevent those from spoiling. Okay, so now we're going to have the same poll or a similar poll. It's just after hearing meal planning strategies, how often will you choose to eat out per week? So just go ahead and type your answers in the chat, and that's also going to include eating out, eating fast food, and then grab and go food as well. It seems most of our answers are still B, or the other ones have switched mostly to BA. So it seems like we've seen some improvement. And now here's a QR code that you can scan with your phone. This QR code is going to bring you to a summary of the actual presentations, just so you can have a quick access guide to a lot of the sources we mentioned, including those apps we mentioned earlier in the presentation. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now we're going to play a game similar to Kahoot that can review the information that was discussed in this presentation. So we're going to go ahead and put the code in the chat for that, and you can just go to that link that's listed there on the slide. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start the quiz game. You won't be able to see it on our presentation. You'll just be looking at it on your screen, but we will read the leaderboard out to you, as well as the questions. Okay, so the first question is, which of these is not a factor in traveling for food? The options are traffic, meal apps, dining experience, and gas. I don't know how to say that. Okay, so our current leaderboard has boysenberry as the #1 player. Number 2 is artichoke, and 3 is dandelion. The answer was meal apps. I think it shows it, yeah. The second question is, true or false, eating leftovers saves families up to $1,500 annually. So artichoke moved up into first place, but looks like everybody got it. The answer was true. True or false, frozen foods had the same nutritional content as fresh food. So artichoke is still in first place. Second place was boysenberry, and the third place is flax finch. He moved in the top 3. But the answer was true. Most of you got that. We'll move on to the next question. How long can frozen food last if stored properly? 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, and 2 years. So dandelion moved back to third place, but the correct answer was 2 years. Not everybody got that, just about 16 of you guys. Move on to the next one. How many cups of dairy per day should a person have on a 2,000 calorie diet? We got a new top three. Dandelion is in first place. Garlic is in second place. And then arugula has moved to third place. But the answer was 3 cups. Only 11 of you guys got that. On average, buying in bulk saves consumers blank on groceries. The options are 27%, 20%, 40%, and 63%. Looks like there was no change in the top three. The correct answer was 27%. Which of these is not an example of a versatile ingredient that was provided? The options are banana, peanut butter, ground beef, and eggs. So the top three is apricot in first place, second place is boysenberry, and third place is dandelion. And the correct answer was peanut butter, which it seems like the majority of you guys did get. True or false, buying fruits and vegetables in season is generally more affordable than buying them out of season. And for time reasons, this will be our final question on this. So the top three and the final ones on here will be the final top three. So it looks like apricot did win, but it's still the original top three. Boysenberry in second, third place is dandelion. But most of you guys got that, 29 out of 30. So now if you guys have any questions for us about our presentation, or if you just want us to expand on anything, just go ahead and type those questions in the chat and we'll be sure to answer those for you. To the left.
He said maintaining a strong 27th place over here.
Yes. We'll put the QR code back on so y'all can have it.
Thank you all. Yes, and I can make sure in a follow-up email, if you're able to share the slides, I can get those out to the attendees to have this information on hand as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like someone else just to comment. The hardest part for me is deciding what to make. Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you there. The kitchen is not my favorite place to be unless I'm eating the food. So I'm usually looking for quick things, easy things. I'm definitely one of those that will probably buy, the 5-pound package of ground beef and then separate it out myself and freeze it. I'm trying to look for the best deal. So yeah, a lot of great information, and even depending on whether you're a single person, family, multiple kids, maybe single with a kid. So great information. So another one that kind of got dropped in here is, why is eating healthy so expensive?
Well, before we address that, I did want to talk really quick to the point of coming up with ideas. One of the apps that we selected was Prepare. You'll find that on the QR code. That actually allows you to join meal plans where people have pre-populated meal plans for you, and you can pick and choose which ones work within your budget, within your time constraints. So it kind of makes the guessing easier because they do it for you, and you just have to add what you want from it. So I just wanted to address that really quick for you. For the next one, why is eating healthy so expensive? That is a good question. I think there are definitely, what we hope that you learned today is there are ways to save on that. A lot of fruits and vegetables, you don't always have to buy fresh. As we talked about, you can buy them frozen, you can buy them canned. They still have similar nutrient values. So there are ways to save. There's topics about organic, which we didn't get into today. So that can be a hot topic that people think they should focus on organic products. But really it's just trying to find those healthier foods within your budget and not feeling pressured to always buy what is the most expensive option out there.
As much as we would love to answer the question about weight management, we haven't learned that much about it. That'll be our next semester question. But in general, for budgeting, probably just buying healthy fruits and vegetables. Maybe, oh yeah, high in fiber. So those will be helpful for weight management. And then also reading nutrition labels, seeing what's in them, so you can stay away from those saturated fats, that 10%, added sugars and things like that can be helpful. What is this? Okay. You're welcome. I don't know about Oni much, but do you know?
Somebody did mention that they have taken some classes with Oni, and it's not somebody that we have partnered with, the three of us, but we know people in our program that have and do work for them. So they are definitely a great resource and offer lots of recipe options as well, and classes that you can participate in.
Yeah, and if you guys aren't familiar, ONI is actually project out of public health, so still out of the HSC campus there. So an internal resource as well that has some great information. Well, if we don't have any other questions coming in, thank you guys so much for sharing this info. A lot of great things for us definitely to consider and prepare as we're trying to be maybe a little more budget conscious as our finances maybe get a little tighter and stuff right now this day and age. So just kind of finding different ways that we can be mindful with our finances. This is great information to help us work through some of that. So thank you guys so much. And you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.